Good evening. Um, I get a lot of emails and I try to answer them all. I get a lot of comments. I try to answer those. I get a lot of people who put a lot of faith in my opinions, and I want to tell you right now, I appreciate that. I really do. I'm honored that people actually think enough of my opinion to ask me questions that could ultimately make a important contribution to whether they lived or died when they're talking about security and which firearm to pick, things like that. And I get a pretty consistent amount of questions about home security because obviously that's one of the things I talk about a lot with firearm selection. And I want to start out right now. I got to tell you, I'm not an expert like a Rob Pincus or a Michael Janich or Masad Ayub. I really can't think of the home protection experts, but I mean I'm not on that level. I do a lot of research. I've shot for a long time. I was in the military. I had a little bit of security training in the military. I am not a combat veteran. I was in the 70s, but I did not. I did not deploy overseas. I'm not a combat veteran. I've never been in combat or under fire. So I just want to get that up front. I will do my best to answer these questions. It's important to me that I lead you the right way and not give you some of this BS that you hear from some of these internet warriors that you can tell they've actually never been in a life or death situation. I mean, some of the things they say are just ridiculous. So that being said, a question that I get a lot is about how to set up your home to kind of help be more secure. And I got an email a couple days ago from a girl named Dawn, D-A-W-N, and the question says, Steve, I've asked several people and have never gotten an answer other than deadbolts or some generic alarm advice. How do I make my house more secure on the cheap? I think anybody that watches many of my films knows that I'm tight. So I got to thinking about that, and I came up with a little list. This is going to be a real quick video. If you agree with me, great. If you don't agree with me, no hard feelings, I understand. Just don't flame me and make it personal. But I think this is good advice. A couple of the things you're probably going to think are kind of weird, but like I say, I think they're good sound advice. And to start off with, obviously, the three things that I think are the most critical, I made some notes on this, would be good solid doors, because I think that the door clearly is the number one barrier that's going to determine whether somebody can get in or out easily. And in that, I also believe that you should have at least one room in your house that has a solid core interior door. In fact, I think that door not only should have a lock, but it should have a deadbolt, just like your entry doors to your home. I think that that's smart. I practice what I preach. I think that is a good start to having home security. I also, going along with that, is deadbolts. I have deadbolts. I think deadbolts are a no-brainer. I think if you're smart, you'll have deadbolts with a key anywhere where there would be an easy way to knock out a window pane and turn the little latch from the inside. However, I think if you can get away with it, the little latch is better, because in the event of a fire, I sure would not want to be sitting around looking for a way out of my house when I couldn't find my key. I also, and a lot of people disagree, and some people cannot have one. I think a good dog is critical. I do not think that you need a mean dog or a biting dog, but I do think a perfect little dog is a small terrier or a dachshund or I'm not real familiar with a lot of the smaller breeds, but anything that would just serve as an alarm. I don't need my dog to be a combat machine, but I would like my dog to alert me if there's someone in the house that's not supposed to be there. I have a German Shepherd. He's a Walmart greeter. He's the friendliest dog you'll ever see in your life, but he barks at strangers. And that's all I care about. I don't want him to attack. I don't want him to worry. I don't want to ever have to worry about him biting my grandchildren, the neighbor, the postman. I don't want to worry that he darts through the fence and attacks somebody. but he does bark at strangers, and to me, that's the perfect dog. Moving on, also obviously, and Don mentioned the deadbolts and the alarms. I believe in alarms. I think that sometimes the alarm services are overrated. And all over my house I have alarms, and because I'm cheap, they're small alarms that I pick up at like Lowe's, Radio Shack, places like that. And you know, I also have an ADT system, but you know, the free ADT systems have gaps. And also with them, a lot of times, like the motion detector, by the time they get in to trigger a motion detector, they're already in your house. Little alarms like this one right here, this is made by a company called Swanson. I think these come from Radio Shack. I believe it was $9. You turn this on, and if somebody bangs a door or a window or something, it goes off with a 110 decibel alarm. That's not enough to alert police or the neighbors, but it's enough to let me know in the middle of the night if the bang I heard down on the door was the wind, my dog bumping it, you know, just the house settling, or if somebody actually pushed through the door. These come with a little piece of two-sided tape. You can set them on a window, you can set them on a door, you can set them about anywhere you want. And if they're rattled hard, they're not a sound activated, they're motion activated, and they'll go off. And like I said, 110 decibels, I can hear that anywhere in my house. It'll wake me up if I'm sleeping. They also come, I have lots of them around, they also come in a pack. Turn the light on for you so you can see this. They also come in a pack, and this one is the more traditional type with the magnetic switch, so you can put one side on the door and one side on the door jamb, or vice versa, and then as it separates. This is not a motion activated one. This one actually has to pull the contact switches apart. I have some of both depending on where I put them. I have a little more faith really in probably in the contact switch type. But I mean, like, there are some places like on a window or something where I'll put the motion activated ones. In addition to that, if you can afford the $29, $39, whatever, you know, a month, look into an alarm system. I recommend something like SimpliSafe, or one of those that you don't have to sign a contract. I don't make a nickel from them. Don't have a SimpliSafe system. Don't know anybody that does. You know, it's just one that you can get on the internet and order the kit, put it in yourself. It's wireless, and then if you want to pay them for the monitoring, you can. If you don't, you can just have the audible alarms inside. But I do think an alarm is important. Now, this is where I start to deviate a little, and some people are going to think I'm kind of odd, but I promise you, I mean, there's a method to most of my madness. This is a piece of 2x4 that was cut on my table saw. I'm sure if you don't have a table saw, the Lowe's will make one, or you can saw it out by hand. And all these are is just homemade wedges. And when these are put rough side down and jammed under a door, nobody's going to just swing your door open. You take a deadbolt lock and two of these wedges on the bottom of a solid core door, and if you're in the bedroom waiting for 911 to send a responder, this is going to give you a lot of time. I mean, they're not going to be able to just push in a hollow core door or one of those little push button lock things like most bedrooms have. You'll actually have a very nice secure barrier. I recommend that. I really do. I think that you should keep a couple of these by your door, and if you hear anything, instead of rushing downstairs with a gun in one hand and a flashlight in the other, block your door and wait for help if it's possible. That's assuming that you're not separated from a child or something where, I mean, obviously your first priority there would be to get to your child's room. I believe in that case I would set my child's room up as the safe room with the solid door and the wedges, and wait for help in there. That brings up the next thing that I believe you need, which is to have your cell phone either by you, if you can remember to grab it, or have it in the child's room, wherever, because if a thief comes into your house, or especially somebody that's even worse, a rapist or someone wanting to do bodily harm, one of the first things that they're taught in prison, where they get all this education, is to take your phone and just take it off the receiver if it's an old style phone, or if it's a cordless phone, just push the button and get a dial tone. That blocks you from making a call. Your phone then, even if you have one in your room, becomes completely worthless. So have a cell phone with you. If if that's not convenient for you, think about buying a prepay. I mean, they're so cheap anymore. You can spend 20 or 30 bucks on one. I think it comes with about a year's worth of time. Not necessarily a year's worth of minutes, but I mean a year before those minutes expire. That's pretty cheap insurance if you buy it just for 911. Also, I think some deactivated, if not all deactivated phones, will still call 911 for you. So a cell phone in the room, I think, is very, very important. Obviously, I also think I'm a big fan of lights. This is a Streamlight. I think it's a Stryon. It is a Stryon LED. It's super, super bright. I've got several of these. I've got several that use batteries. I've got several less expensive lights. I have one Surefire, which is a really nice one. It stays in my bag, which is in my actual prepared bug out bag, because it's the best of the lights that I have and the one I trust the most not to fail me. A good light is important. Here again, I'm getting ready to kind of stray off, and you're going to say, what is the matter with this guy? I think you should have not necessarily a red medicine bottle, but some way to make your light red. This is a trick I learned clear back in the 70s in the service. On our ships, we had red globes on all the lights that were on at night, so that if somebody opened the hatch, it didn't show, and if you walked in, it didn't give you some kind of light blindness. This one I use because it fits my flashlight perfectly. I know somewhere at home right now somebody's laughing, but anyway, this, as you can see, turns this into a red light. It still has plenty of light coming out of it, but it won't cause the vision blindness that you will if you take it off and get that big white light like that. This just happened to be an old pill bottle that I had that I split the top on, and I mean it just fit perfect. Plus I carry it because with the lid on it, even though there's a slit in there, it actually still watertight, just in case I did need to put something in it and keep it dry. I know that seems a little bit odd, but like I say, having the red lens on there makes a huge difference at night. It really does. It'll keep you from, if you hear something and need to get up to find your way to your firearm or your phone or whatever, and you turn that bright white light on, it's going to take you a second to get your vision back. At the same time, if you turn that light on and you're waving it around and somebody happens to be able to see it under the edge of your bedroom door or something, it tells them immediately where you are. At least make them spend a couple of minutes guessing. Another thing that I think that you need is a whistle. This is my old bosun's whistle from the Navy. This thing's actually 35 years old or more, closer to 40, I think. Still works great. It's very loud. I'm not going to whistle it because my grandson's upstairs asleep, but it's extremely loud. Any kind of a whistle. In an emergency, you can open your bedroom window. I think most places, at least here, there's a code that any actual bedroom has to have at least one window to the outside. I'm sure that's for fire. But in an emergency, when you're jamming that and waiting for a responder, you can also open your window and sit there and make three, the shrill 3 blasts in a row, stop, 3 blasts in a row, stop. That's pretty much universally recognized as a distress signal. Some people are so obtuse they might not know that, but even they're going to wander outside to see what the heck's going on, and then you can always yell help. But I think that that's a great signal device. Your voice won't carry as far and it won't last very long, but a whistle, I carry one in every one of my bags in case I'm stuck outdoors. I have one right there by my flashlight in case I need it, like I say, in the middle of the night. That whistle is virtually inexhaustible. The reason I like the bosun's whistle, like most of my emergency whistles, it has no little ball or anything in it to malfunction. It's just strictly air pressure. I think that a whistle is smart. I really do. It's a great emergency signal device. The next thing I put on here, also a little bit of an oddball, but I keep a piece of pipe. I think this one's, I don't know, about 40 inches long. It's not super heavy duty, it's hollow. I use it, or actually I don't use it, it just sits there, but my thought on it is that in an emergency I could use it somehow to put additional propping on the door. If I had to retreat on into the bathroom, maybe I could use it in there, because I do have an attached bath to my bedroom. You could lay it, maybe kind of drape it over, push the dresser up against it, anything. Plus, bottom line, if a guy comes busting through there, I can always use it to try to fend him off if he's got a knife or something. The last thing I want to do is get into a fight with an attacker where I got a piece of pipe. But I mean, like I say, in an instance where he pushed his way through somehow and I did not have my firearm, or if there was somebody I thought possibly could be in range and I had to, a pipe makes a great fending device. I don't recommend that you try to beat them to death with it, but like I say, it's very good for holding somebody off. It also, a good thrust to the chest will usually, it'll usually at least stop them from advancing for a moment. So anyway, I also put on there, if you don't want a piece of pipe, a 2x4, just anything that can be used as a last ditch emergency brace, against a door in the event that the top of the door up by the knob or something started to give way and your wedges were still holding. You could use the brace. Some guys I know even screw a piece of wood into their door, just a little ledge on the inside that they can actually jam the brace under, but that's because I run with a paranoid crowd. In any event, it doesn't take up much room, it just hangs there, or you can just write it off as one of my idiosyncrasies and go on. Obviously, I believe that you should have a gun and some ammunition with you. Other people will not agree with that. I have come up with an alternative. If you do not feel like that you should have a gun and ammunition, I have made something that I think, according to some people, will work just as well. I have a sign here and it says, "Stop, this is a gun and weapon-free bedroom. Do not bring weapons into this room. Violators will be prosecuted." And you can hang that on the outside of your door in the event that you're strongly anti-gun. Anyway, the last thing that you can always make sure you have with you, and I wrote it last because I think it's one of the most important, is mindset. And you need to have the mindset that this is possible. You need to be one of the people that doesn't look at this video and laugh. That, there are a lot of people that go through life, I believe they call it the Pollyanna complex. They believe that it's impossible for anything bad to happen to them. And it's not impossible. It's statistically unlikely, it's not impossible. You need to have the mindset that there is a chance that your house could be the one that predator breaks into. That you're the one that could be the rape victim or the murder victim or the assault victim or at worst the robbery victim. You need to understand that and have a plan. You may not agree with my plan, you may think my plan's silly or overboard, but have some kind of a plan so that when it happens, you're not trying to formulate that plan in the middle of the night while you're scared, while your adrenaline's pumping like crazy, and while you can't see. I guarantee you, any plan is better than waking up in the middle of the night with no idea what to do. The last thing I just want to leave you with on this, you hear people all the time and they say, you can live or die trying. I think you can die or you can live trying. That's what I think. I think that in the event that you're attacked by a predator, if you don't try, you're going to die. I think that you need to try your best to defend yourself and at least try to isolate yourself long enough for help to get there. Anyway, Dawn, I hope this helped you some. You know, I don't want to be one of the people that just sends you back a 2-line canned answer that says buy an alarm or buy a dog. You know, I'm sure that all of this won't work for you, but I hope some of it does. And anyway, good luck to you. And I appreciate everybody watching my videos. I'll try to get some more gun reviews up soon. Thanks a lot.